Good morning, everyone. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wa bihi nasta'in ala umuri dunya wad din. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I take this opportunity to thank the organizers from the Movement of the First. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to represent the OICU Indonesia. We are the umbrella organization of all Muslim youth organizations in Indonesia. We convene the largest youth movement with different histories and various contributions that shape our nation until today. And as the largest Muslim population country in the world, we are representing dozens of Muslim youth organizations and communities. Consisting of largest Muslim organizations, namely Muhammadiyah, Nahdlatul Ulama, they have their various youth wings for students, for university students, for more senior youth, for male and for female. And other organizations such as the Himpunan Mahasiswa Islam or the Islamic Student Association, and also such as Al-Wasiyah and its main youth wing, Persis, Persatuan Umat Islam, Pelajar Islam Indonesia, and others. And we are glad to let you know that this is an organization that is led by females, and the majority of the members of the governing board, such as the treasurer, the vice treasurer, are also female, and they are married, except for me, the testament to the fact that females, that women, are able to lead well. Ladies and gentlemen, as someone who works with and for youth and children, when I see teachers, when I see educators, when I see lecturers, when I see activists that care about youth and children, it humbles me and it touches my heart. The other day, we talked a lot about values. And this reminds me of the value that we have in Indonesia, that we greet the hands of the elders and the teachers, we bow down to them and we show respect to them. Because what they do and what each and every one of you do is a very noble cause. And therefore I take this occasion to share about empowering tomorrow, cultivating children and youth through STEAM, diplomacy, and spiritual enrichment for Golden Indonesia 2045. And I think I have my slide, but if it's not there yet, I can carry on. And before we proceed, let me share with you very briefly a snapshot of our history of our nation and why organization, why movement, and why the youth is very integral to real progress and development, and it's not only a jargon. Ladies and gentlemen, since the 17th retaliation was not unified and it was more traditional, it was not until the end of the 19th century that the conditions deteriorated very drastically and people suffered very badly. In 1908, various organizations, various movements began to emerge and rise in the struggle for Indonesian independence. We have to release ourselves from the shackles of colonialism. And this period is known as the period of national movement. Thus, the form of struggle since then was finally changed through organization and diplomacy. Subsequently, in 1928, the first Congress of Youth was held, which gathered all ethnicities, all religions, from the west, from the east of Indonesia. And the youth declared three things: one motherland, one nation, and one unifying language. In 1945, the Proclamation of Independence was signed by Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta as our founding fathers. In 1950, we declared one unitary state of Republic of Indonesia. And in 1967, the Juanda Declaration was made, and we declared as one homeland. And in 2045, we will declare another milestone in our country, which is one prosperity. Let me explain to you further. Indonesia Emas 2045, or Golden Indonesia 2045, will mark 100 years of Indonesia's independence. This marks a very important milestone, and this is very significant. Why? Because throughout history of our nation, the youth has always played an integral part in shaping who we are today. Back in 1945, before our founding fathers declared independence, the youth groups had to actually force them and even kidnap them to quickly declare independence just after the Japanese was attacked. And right now, Indonesia, the fourth most populous nation in the world, has a huge demographic dividend, which means that the age of those that are productive are more than those that are not productive. This represents the youth, and this represents potential for social, economic, and cultural growth. And this is not only me stating this, but according to the report of our central statistics body, which is the Indonesia Youth Development Index, a composite measure of the well-being of Indonesian youth across 5 dimensions: firstly, education, health, employment, social engagement, and civic participation. Despite the challenges we had as nations, despite the recent challenges of economic crisis, we managed to rise above it all. However, significant challenges still persist, namely stunting among children.
Will transition from agriculture and raw commodity-based developing country into an advanced industrial, service, and technology-based development. And this is not a distant dream. And this is where the STEAM comes into equation. Is this slide accessible or not? If not, then I will continue anyway. And STEAM is short from science, technology, engineering, and arts and mathematics. Why we need to add A into STEM? Why art is needed? It is because the lack of innovation and creativity and human resources is the reason for that. When we focus too much on results, when we just make children to regurgitate what they learn in exams, when they are faced with a different kind of problem, they cannot face it. So this is why STEAM learning is important, because art practices in STEAM
can encourage independent learning, social responsibility, and creative problem solving. And this is why we use stuff for children. The results of the research in Indonesia in primary schools, show that 50% of teachers already implemented this teaching, and this shows that the teacher also feels that the training provides them not only the students but also benefits for the teachers. They feel that the STEAM training helps carry out interesting learning experience and it's not monotonous for the students' motivation in learning. And another aspect I'd like to highlight is that soft skills are also important other than the hard skills. When I mention STEAM, for the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and arts, it's not only STEAM as a discipline but also as an approach. How different subjects can incorporate art, even technology. So this is a very interesting thing. And about diplomacy, I'd like to focus more on public diplomacy, especially the role of children. This public diplomacy is a form of soft power which uses cultural, economic, and educational exchanges to build relationships and foster understanding between countries. And public diplomacy can also involve media and other communication forms to reach foreign audiences. For example, in the age of Zoom, in the age of webinars, this is very feasible and doable. And the children, it's important for them to have access and exposed to different cultures from an early age. Doesn't have to wait until they're university students to go abroad, for example. Because we implemented these activities in 2020 in schools, in general schools, and Islamic boarding schools. And this results the students to have more motivation to do more. This can be seen from a constructive and structural approach that is important for the top-down for the policy makers to also support them. But also bottom-up movement as well, such as the youth organization do, bottom-up approach. And it's a form of developing soft skills for the students and also this platform for Indonesian students to showcase their rich culture. And just recently, a week ago, Bahasa Indonesia just recently was recognized and adopted as one of the official languages of UNESCO. So this is a very important momentum to strengthen that Indonesia, especially Indonesian children, can be part of the global community, and we need them to be more open for insight and references on what they can do in the future. And, for example, just from this activity, the more connected we are, the more opportunities we have for subsequent and follow-up meetings and collaboration in the future. We have conducted speech, debate, modeling and modeling initiatives in schools, and including the movement of the first with the participation of our organization at the French International Weekend in Kazan this August. Youth is too large to be left in the hands of the government alone. And the world is witnessing a demographic shift characterized by growing youth population. And no longer time for youth to be seen as active participants, but they have to be active, take ownership. Regarding education, I'd like to highlight as well, maybe this can be a disagree because there may be elements, but we also conducted in Indonesia to overcome the challenges of quality institutions, or teacher quality, for access to basic education. And an example is the Indonesia Mengajar program, which was initiated by Mr. Astrid Nadya, the former Minister of Education and Culture in Indonesia. And another thing I'd like to highlight is spiritual enrichment is important because it is the foundation, and this also translates into what our values are. For example, in Indonesia, we have the foundation of philosophical theory of our country, which is Pancasila. And I'd like to highlight the first sila, or number one, is Ketuhanan Yang Maha Esa, which translates to believe in God. Because otherwise, the impact will be moral decadence, and there will be no direction based on solid foundation of values. And there should be no more violence or bullying between students. Apart from that, it is also important academically to instill honesty and emphasis in process, not only results, because in the long term, if the students only emphasize on the results, they can conduct any means to achieve that goal, which results to crime rate, corruption, lack of character, lack of integrity, and also regarding spiritual enrichment, because it is not only education in terms of physical education or cerebral education that we receive here, but it's also important to educate the soul. Why? Because mental health is important, and there should be no strawberry generation, what we call as snowflakes. They get offended easily, because why? More and more challenges will happen in life. Not only about the progress and development, but young people and children should be mentally and spiritually strong. And intergenerational solidarity, particularly when led by youth, it encompasses crucial elements, and this is where mentoring comes into play. Mentors, not only teachers, but also youth, mentoring their younger colleagues. They know what to do, and this is what we conduct and conducted by our member organizations under our umbrella.